everyone, welcome back. I am 13 and we're doing a blast from the past today. I am so excited about this. I'm even drinking Surge right now. That's how far back we're going. Uh, we are playing Frontier. So first and foremost, a giant red vintage. Yeah, that's not a thing. I just need a format I hadn't played that I can switch over to Frontier on the code side. This is my favorite brew deck of all time. This is the deck I played all through standard. It is Waste Not Mill. So this is going to be utilizing the community design card Waste Not. We're not even including any of the new copies of the card just because of the power of this deck when it goes off and the flexibility of dig through time. There's a couple of different ways I could have taken this. We do not have Stitcher Supplier. We also don't have the new Waste Not Creature, but we're hopefully going to make this work out with a couple of awesome cards that are enabled by Pioneer. So, first of all, the deck. Waste Not. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, you create a zombie token. Whenever they discard a land, you generate black mana. Whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land, you draw a card. So we're going to be trying to utilize this with Dark Deal, the only Frontier legal wheel effect. Each player discards all cards in his or her hand, then draws that many -1. Combo being that your opponent's going to discard 4 cards. Any number of those are going to be non-creature, non-lands. You'll pick up an additional card because of that. And if you have multiple Waste Knots out, it's going to be multiple cards. And then we're going to be using Sphinx's Tutelage whenever you draw a card. An opponent mills 2 and then repeats if they share a color. So you're hopefully going to Dark Deal into another Dark Deal, and then you've drawn somewhere in the ballpark of like 40 cards. If your opponent's deck is not going to be super multicolored, which without fetch lands it won't be able to, we're hopefully just going to mill them out on the spot. So beyond that, we're also using a bunch of utility cards like Thoughtseize, just the most powerful discard around. Likely going to be the most powerful card in Frontier or in Pioneer to start. Keep saying Frontier because of the Japanese format. It's Pioneer. But Thoughtseize is going to be very powerful. Thought Eraser is going to be in our colors. It allows us to surveil so we can actually fuel our graveyard for a lot of the things that we're doing, as well as just being a good utility card. Can grab a number of cards out of our opponent. And then I don't believe Deathrite Shaman should be in every Pioneer deck. It's a very powerful card, but we're going to be fueling the graveyard by cycling everybody's hands. So we're going to be using Deathrite Shaman and hopefully going to be using it well. And we can also utilize our opponent's graveyards. Beyond that, we have Tassiger as a way to delve out cards that we don't care about from our yard. We can activate Tassiger to pick up cards from our yard, as well as just be a 4/5 body. There's probably going to be a number of Gurmag Anglers and Tassigers running around, so don't know how removal is going to be for them, but I guess we'll find out. Dig Through Time is very powerful. One thing to note about Dig Through Time over Treasure Cruise right now is I believe Narset's going to be a staple of the format before we figure out where draw is going to be. Dig Through Time specifically says put them into your hand, not draw them. So that's going to get around a couple of different effects there. And then I have a one of Davriel as like an alternate win condition. He's discard on a stick, and he also punishes our opponent if we empty their hand, as well as having a couple of Narsets on the side. But that's going to be the deck. We have some Heroes Downfalls to hopefully answer to fairies, opposing Narsets, etc. I believe Languish is the best board clear that we get in black. I do actually have a full-time job on top of this, so I'm trying to go off the best research that I've had in the past 24 hours, but who knows if that's actually accurate or not. Languish, Yahenni's Expertise, Drown in Sorrow, all these are viable cards, but we have nothing that's technically a board clear. Sphinx's Tutelage is a win condition. There's also 2 Search for Azkantas in the deck because we do want to mill ourselves a little bit, and being able to activate Azkanta to go find a Waste Knot or a Dark Deal if the game goes a little bit longer seems pretty good. Red looks like it's going to be an incredible color in Pioneer, at least to start off. So we have 4 Collective Brutalities in the 75. Lily Last Hope is going to be one of the most powerful planeswalkers, so we have her in the side. She cannot answer Deathrite Shaman, but answers a lot of problem permanents. Leyline of the Void, because there is a lot of Delve going around right now, and most the rally deck's a thing. We kind of just want to make sure that we can answer the opponent's graveyard if we're going to be stalking it. Then running Ashiok, it's early enough in the format. I think we can have a couple of fun cards in here. We have a number of Spell Pierces just because it is one of the better counter spells. Negate is about the only other card that kind of comes close for the CMC. On turn 3, I want to be able to Waste Not with a Spell Pierce up versus Control. So we needed the 1-drop there. And then Narset is also Dark Deal. Like if we're wheeling hands, we can just try to make it so that our opponent's not actually drawing cards. And if we're going that way, Davriel's going to be a little bit better. We're probably going to be taking out Sphinx's tutelage because we're just going to be a control list. And that's about everything that we've got there. And we finally got our opponent. That took a little bit. All right, so excited. We have all the good cards already. I'm so happy. This sets up for turn 2 Waste Not. Hero's Downfall. I feel like I need to keep this. I technically have the mana to cast it. We have 3 mana, which is really all that the deck needs to go off, so we can hang on to that. If the opponent Thoughtseize us here, that's going to feel bad. But it looks like it's probably going to be the Copycat deck. I'm taking a lot of my assumptions for this format. Oh boy, there's an Oko. Well, we kept Hero's Downfall just for Oko. So if opponent's going to go for... No, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast the Waste Not here because they're not going to have enough mana to cast Oko, and then we can Thought Eraser and just take Oko. Dark Deal could also empty our opponent's hand, so that seems pretty good here. But to finish my initial thought, a lot of the decks that I'm facing, I'm going to assume that they're upgraded variants of existing Tier 1 standard decks. Yep, that's the Saheeli. So we kind of have a start. Opponent actually shouldn't be on black. Urborg won't actually be fixing much mana here, but I need to use my blue for Thought Erasure. We'll see if we have to take Saheeli or if we can take Oko. Oh, Lord. So we have to take a Saheeli, and then we're going to Hero's Downfall the other Saheeli. Serval, do I want the Evolving Wilds? Evolving Wilds is technically a swamp here, but I need to fuel Dig Through Time. Let's put it in the yard. Okay. Temple of Deceit's not the best. I mean, may as well just kept Evolving Wilds at that point, but... going to be Heroes Downfalling Saheeli here, so that's fine. Yep. Opponent gets to scry. Hit us for 1. Dark Deal to put 2 Felidar Guardians in the bin would also be acceptable. Alright, so I know that this is going to be a Hero's Downfall. I probably want to do it with the Felidar Guardian on the stack, since that's what opponent's going to use all their mana for next turn. Both Saheelis are gone. They played the Temple Garden, and they have the Breeding Pool, so I know a Felidar Guardian's coming down next turn. If I hit Saheeli now, they're going to blink the Oath and actually get a couple of additional cards. So let's just go ahead and do this. Collective Brutality cannot take any of their Planeswalkers, so let's bend that to the bottom. Then ship it on over to opponent, and Hero's Downfall Saheeli. If opponent thinks that we have Hero's Downfall, they could run out Oko on our Waste Not, and that'd be sad, but... Yep, gonna wait for them to target. Let's kill that. And then 2 Saheelis in the yard puts us in a pretty decent spot. Reach can turn on discard. Okay. I unfortunately think I have to cash out my graveyard for Tasigur at this point. But this can leave up Tasigur, Fatal Push. Jeez. This can technically leave up Search for Azcanta and Tasigur. I really want to Dig Through Time, but I think I have to cash out. Actually get a threat on the table. I can also start activating Tasigur. Search should start filling my graveyard a little bit. I'm expecting Oko to come down, so Tasigur's probably turning into an Elk. With 5 mana, search binning something. Oko is so nasty. I guess they only know about the one Oko. The other one was revealed off the Oath of Nissa. Tasker mills 2, picks it up. I have Fatal Push active. Okay, or they've just got it. Don't know why opponent would slow roll that. I don't have an answer. Okay, slightly awkward draws from our side. The Collective Brutalities can easily come out. Happy with the Thought Seizes, the Thought Erasers. The Tutelage is fine. Davriel might be a little bit slow. Ashiok for the backup mill plan seems fine, but I want Spell Pierce for Saheeli. I know that for a fact. Narset doesn't seem like it's going to activate a whole lot. I guess it's just one Ashiok in over Collective Brutality, since I can't kill any of their creatures with Brutality. I might actually be able to snag a Mystic. If I see a turn 1 mana dork from them on game 2, on the draw, I might actually consider... No, I'd need it on the play. Liliana can tick off a mana dork, fill my graveyard. Ashiok can eat their graveyard, steal a creature. Yeah, I think I prefer to have Lily to take out any mana dorks. With multiple Okos, it's hard to consider anything opponent's doing as interactable. Even if I left up the Fatal Push, I wouldn't be able to get rid of any of the Feldar Guardians since they have 4 CMC without a way to trigger Revolt. Fatal Push actually just might not be that good without fetch lands. Alright, let's go ahead and play first, and that's pretty disgusting. We can't keep that. That had a lot of good cards in it, but we can't keep it. And this is so slow. This is tucking the dig through time and not having discard. I don't think I can keep that. This is slightly better, but still awful. At least I have a little bit of interaction here, and the Deathrite Shaman with the Evolving Wild should generate at least a little bit of mana. That should turn Dark Deal on before too long. Opponent is also at 6 cards. They're trying to figure out if they want to keep. Yep, they kept 6. So let's keep this. It's going to be a Deathrite Shaman going away, and... I hate it, but probably the Dark Deal. So it's going to be turn 1 Evolving Wilds, go get a Swamp, turn 2 Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, let's get rid of Dark Deal. It's not going to make the cut. This hand is disgusting. We might even just want to move along. Don't be Deathrite. This is the correct way to use Once Upon a Time, though, is right before you cast your first spell, you resolve the Once Upon a Time. Gilded Goose. Makes sense with Oko. Wow, opponent was confident they were getting that. Alright, let's Thoughtseize. Clear the way of any problems. It's going to be an Oko, another Gilded Goose, and an Oath of Nissa. So Oath of Nissa can be anything and fixes their mana. But Oku's going to be the biggest problem, and he's going to be coming down next turn. So it's going to have to be the Oko, and then we'll run out our mana dork, which is just a little bit better. Alright, there's Oath of Nissa. They took a shock for that, though, which means they probably drew a 2-drop. Okay. Not really sure about that, but let's go ahead and just discard the Saheeli before it's a problem. We'll get our blue off of Deathrite Shaman, take a peek, and also try to set up our next draw. Oh, they found a Verdurous Gearhulk. New plan. We take the Verdurous Gearhulk because they can run that out next turn. And then I don't have to worry about targeting multiple things. I gotta put that into the yard. With the Hero's Downfall, I'll just hit Saheeli and we'll be good. Opponent will likely get one additional food token, but I can't answer a Gear Hulk and then multiple counters on the geese. That's annoying. Yep. Tasker. That's a fine card. Deathrite looking slightly awkward with no lands to delve out, but this was also a Mold of 5, and we've put up a fight. Deathrite can start activating for block to give a little bit of reach, and my 4/5 is going to be bigger than my opponent's 3/3. Finding Felidar Guardian can blink the Oath of Nissa, looking for more gas and potentially the win condition. Yep, I'm taking beats. Alright, well, I think I just have to run out the swamp because it doesn't do me any benefit from keeping it in hand unless I will draw multiple lands. But I'm going to end up using Tasker to sculpt my graveyard here. So I want to get rid of the Thought Eraser, the Spell Pierce, and the Thoughtseize. So I'm going to pay for 3. That'll leave the Hero's Downfall around. Actually, I should have left it an additional card so Deathrite wouldn't have to eat the Hero's Downfall. I'm still a ways away from activating Tasker, but it's slightly loose. Okay. Creating food tokens. Deathrite's not going to be a very fast clock against the geese. This looks like the Felidar Guardian. Yep, assuming it's blinking Oath of Nissa, trying to take a look for Saheeli. I'm assuming this is the combo for how long opponent tanked having the win condition while we were tapped out last turn, or last game. Finding a Teferi. So Teferi's slightly annoying versus Tasker because I'll have to keep redelving. Yeah, that works too. I do not understand what opponent's doing over there. Like, not at all. This looks like Teferi. Yep, bounce Tasker, makes sense. Food gets in. And then let's go ahead and drain the opponent, getting rid of the Thoughtseize. If I do get to activate Tasker at any point during this game, I don't want to pick that up. Alright, so I am currently on the table for 3 damage. Opponent has another Gilded Goose in hand. I think I have a couple of turns to pull this off. And by a couple of turns, I mean like 3. Or opponent just hits the combo. Alright, well, awkward Mold of 5, as well as some awkward fixing issues. Mana Confluence would resolve that, but for 2-color deck, it doesn't really feel like it's worth it. Fabled Passage is a better Evolving Wilds, but Card Hoarder didn't have any in stock. We'll see if we can just get a little bit of a better start than Dirtling versus Oko. We came stocked with some answers, just Not enough of them. Well, I was pretty excited to do a lot of Pioneer, but if the matches are going to take this long to queue up, it might be slightly awkward to do on stream. Um, Comments so far about the deck? Maybe too many Delve cards in combination with Deathrite Shaman. Being able to find our dark deals would probably be considerable help. Ops also fuel the graveyard for Deathrite Shaman as well as finding our combo pieces, so having a non-zero number of cantrips versus discard probably helps. This deck does play a lot like 8-rack, so I'm not too opposed to just having a ton of discard and expect a top deck at every turn. But we do need to get our own game plan set up before we do that. Wow, and the lands have not been coming through for us today. Okay, this is fine. Yeah, let's keep this and tuck the Brutality. I know if I'm tucking Brutality, we're going to lose to Burn, but we have a pretty good setup hand. Our hand is pretty well set up to deal with a lot of different things. Alternatively, I'd be tucking Deathrite Shaman and just expecting to Temple on 1, Brutality on 2. Yeah, let's actually do that. After last game, I'm not overly thrilled about having Deathrite in our deck. And it looks like we're up against control right off the bat. Oh no, it's the Heroic deck. So pretty good thing keeping the Collected Brutality there. Oh, that's awkward. Opponent next turn is likely going to Ordeal of Thassa, which is going to put the Hoplite out of range of my out of my... Yeah, we have to Thoughtseize. Let's just clear the way. Hero and Battlewise Hoplite. So they actually don't have any auras yet. Battlewise Hoplite can get kind of annoying, but Hero is actually their bomb. It makes all the auras cost less, and then it gets bigger as it gets targeted. So expecting another creature next turn. If it's the Hoplite, I'm definitely going to kill the Hoplite first. Yep, there he is. So there's actually not much incentive here for me to duress with Collective Brutality. Oh, that's pretty sweet. That actually changes things. So opponent has one unknown, but within their top 2 cards, they probably ended up drawing an aura. So this will let me set up for the Temple of Deceit, and then I'll Fatal Push whatever they try to aura. Don't need another Dark Deal yet. That can go back in the deck. Alright, and we get to kill this, countering their draw card. Typically when playing decks like the opponents where you're not actually Bogles, you want to target the worst creature first. So if it gets removed, you still have the better one. But if they did happen to find another aura, then that means that this guy's going to get in outside of the range of our Collective Brutality, so... Alright, they just drew another hero. That's fine. Ooh, this deck actually gets Feather. That's pretty sweet. The Dark Deal actually doesn't accomplish a whole lot at the moment. The Collective Brutality can take this, but they don't really have the ability to chain together since we took away their quickness. Yeah, let's just kill their creature. Let's just kill this dude. Then next turn we can be set up for tutelage and hopefully a top deck. There's the Ordeal of Thassa. So this is the gas card in their deck. Whenever it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and then when it has 3 1/1 counters on it, you sack it to draw 2 cards. So by targeting the creature, they got a 1/1 counter, and the Ordeal of Thassa also came out. Let's see. Guess we'll just tutelage and then try to Dark Deal after they draw a couple of cards. Thought Eraser's not helping me too much at the moment. The Cervelle could be kind of helpful, but this attack puts Hoplite out of range of Languish. I really want a Waste Not. If I don't see a Waste Not, probably going to Dark Deal just looking for a Fatal Push. Hitting a God's Willing and a Plains. Yep, God's Willing is a thing. So Dark Deal, discard 2, draw 1. Ugh, disgusting. So I can Thought Eraser and activate Gyre Reach. Let's do this first. I have to hit a land to do this, but we're pretty far behind. There's a Waste Not. Yeah, let's get rid of Dark Deal. We're not in the market for that at the moment. Discarded the extra. Ooh, Slip Through Space. All right. That's a spicy addition from Zendikar. Guess we'll take one more hit from the opponent, assuming that they don't have Defiant Strikes and combo kill. Another Ordeal would actually put us super close to dead. Yep. Get a draw card, hitting us for 5. There's 7. Aqua's form makes it unblockable, and they get a Scribe. They're up to 8. Do you have another? Looks like they came up 1 shy. Not waiting for that Scry for the Defiant Strike means that they likely drew the Aqueous form at the end. Either that or just poor sequencing, but... Alright. Care more about black in this deck. Unfortunately, with the way that opponent sequenced everything, I'm assuming the Sod Eraser is only going to hit lands. Or potentially God's Willing, and they're just trying to slow roll it a little bit, but let's Waste Not. And go for it. We're going to have to hit something amazing to actually not die here. Valor Stance, alright. So, oh, okay, we get a creature, but that doesn't really do anything. Yep, alright, well, that's the game. Aqueous form makes it unblockable, so we weren't going to be able to block their creature. Spell Pierce is good. Hero's Downfall is good. Collective Brutality is meh. On the play, I can snag a lot of their Slip Through Spaces and Defiance Strikes and the like, but it's not that great. Liliana Last Hope can pick off some of their creatures or at least shrink them a little bit. Tasker's going to be a pretty decent blocker until they go unblocked. Languish can be pretty good in the right circumstance. They're not the Akron Hoplite deck, so they're not going to go very wide. Thoughtseize just costs life, and most of their stuff are 1-for-1s anyway. Narset can kind of counteract their cantrips, but I don't really want to go that way. If we're casting Narset on turn 3, we're dead. Yeah, Deathrite just has not felt right in this deck. Alright, I guess this is fine. Liliana not being able to kill most of their creatures is kind of sad. But... okay, turn 1 Deathrite, turn 2 Waste Not, turn 3 Davriel. That's actually a really good start. And there's Deathrite Shaman. Here you go, opponent. Favored Hoplite. Search is not nearly as good as Waste Not. Opponent can sideboard into Fragmentize. They can sideboard into Disenchant. I believe they can sideboard into Wear Tear. I think the Fuse cards were part of the OG Ravnica. I could be wrong about that, though. Alright, the dog's whining at the door. I'm going to F6 for opponent. I'll be back in 10 seconds. Apologies about that. My dog is very needy. Alright, so I can search and slip through space. It's going to set up for better future turns. Opponent left white up, so I'm getting the read that they have God's Willing. Yeah, I think we're on Davriel. At the very least, it should make opponents send damage at Davriel. So let's have you discard. Getting me a creature. Alright. Then Deathrite Shaman's not going to be blocking, so he needs to get in. Odds are opponent's going to be able to put Aqueous Form on this or another slip through space. But Zombie's playing defense for now, so Deathrite can totally get in. Alright, there's an Ordeal of Thassa. So opponent gets to draw some cards. I'm really looking for a dark deal now. Going after me. Whatever. We'll put a zombie in front of it. Alright. That is the Fatal Push. Opponent, discard please. Discarding another creature. Perfectly okay by me. We'll play out the Field of Ruin, then I guess that puts me on Fatal Push and search for his Kanta. Now, Deathrite's actually going to be activating to just get some cards out of their yard. I'm expecting a Treasure Cruise out of opponent's deck, so I do want to eat their yard as it becomes relevant. A shock here is going to be very telling there's a Treasure Cruise coming. Alright, so that's going to have to happen. Yep, that's a Battle-Wise Hoplite. An opponent does not seem to care about Davriel. Okay, what I'm looking for here is a second removal spell so that they have to God's Willing and then I can still kill it in response. But for now, let's... Defiant Strike's a worse card for me. Start ticking opponent down. And we're looking for Dark Deal. Yes, I do not need another Deathrite Shaman. Temple of Deceit. So, is it worth cashing out Davriel so I could actually cast Tassiger here? It feels like it. It also actually might be worth it just to Field of Ruin here. Field of Ruin will actually put lands in the yard, so Deathrite can help pay for Tasker off my opponent's Hallowed Fountain. And depending on if opponent floats mana or not, I actually might be able to kill their Hoplite. So they need to float white here. They do. I actually need the second blue to start activating Tassiger, so let's go that way. Interesting. They left blue up? This may have been a punt from the opponent. I think that they're trying to leave up a God's Willing to protect their favored Hoplite, but now I just get to kill it. If they have Spell Pierce, I can use Deathrite to pay for it now that there's a land in the yard. Yeah, not a fan of that. But let's go ahead and scry. Evolving Wilds is another card in the yard. Yeah, let's keep Evolving Wilds. Because then we get closer to searching, flipping search. And then we can use Deathrights to pay for Tasker. Or we could just cash out our graveyard for Tasker and an activation. Both of those seem fine. Johnny's Presence. Indestructible. Alright. They tried to pay for this drive, apparently, but didn't. Oh, no, it was the hero. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and their creatures grow. I'm taking the 4 for now. The zombie token isn't valuable enough for me to actually try to cash out on it. Whatever, it's a free card in the yard. Let's just do that. It should have been correct to bottom it with the scry, but... I think this means I have to kill the Battlewise Hoplite. I don't know why opponents been leaving this blue up and letting us eat their creatures. I was really getting the read that they had protection, but that must not be the case. Let's go ahead and eat the opponent's land. Go ahead and get black for it. Then we can Tassiger. And if I leave anything in the yard, it's going to be a Fatal Push. How much do I care about flipping Search for Iskanta? I actually think we're ahead in this game, so let's just eat the yard. Because the worst case here is I activate Tasker and pick up a non-relevant card. With Pioneer, I should probably highlight new cards a little bit better. So I can pay 4 and put the top 2 cards of my library into the graveyard. Then opponent gives me a card in my graveyard. Yep, you get to go pro black. I think opponent's primarily doing this for the scry. I don't think the 3 damage here is going to be relevant enough that they want to cash out the God's Willing. Because I can crack back for 7. Technically 8 if I just activate Deathrite. Alright. Come on, Tassiger. Done. I'm getting Thoughtseize. Yep, makes sense. Opponent gave me Thoughtseize. The fact that they didn't play a land last turn, they're either doing a great job bluffing in the off chance that I mill over discard, or they're squatting on something. Yep, Evolving Wilds can go into the yard. and another Deathrite Shaman. So let's take a peek. Stubs. Alright, stubs down. I get to draw a Fatal Push. That means I get a Fatal Push. I get a Deathrite. And swing all out. Next turn I get to flip his Kanta, and I believe there's not much coming back from the opponent for that. I actually just have them on a 2-turn clock activating Deathrite Shaman, so probably don't want to start doing the rub-ins and revealing more cards in our deck. I actually think I want that, so... whatever. We're not flipping. Okay, that's fine. Zombie gets in. Then we're going to drain opponent for 4, and then they're dead next turn. Unless they have God's Willing in hand at the moment, plus a creature, then they're dead in 2 turns, but we have this locked up. Do. The pause there makes me think opponent had something. Nope, don't want to land. I want to exile a sorcery. I actually will draw that Fatal Push. Still no need to transform, and squatting on plenty of removal to lock this up. Alright, there's the concession. Does anything change? Ashiok, Collective Brutality, Thoughtseize. No, I really don't think I care about much of this. I am really thinking that these Deathrite Shamans could be better used as something else. I was really hoping that they'd be able to mana dork us into a valuable thing on turn 3 more often, but there's just no lands that go to the graveyard. Is Ashiok worth... No, it's not. Deathrite's a little bit better. Deathrite for Collective Brutality could be a consideration, though. Especially on the draw. I just don't like that it doesn't guaranteed kill something. In fact, odds are it's going to look like it's going to kill something, and then we're going to get blown out. These hands have been awful. Slightly better. So I get to tuck a legendary land, have a turn 1 Deathrite, turn 2 Waste Not, turn 3 Waste Not, and then start activating Grav Reach. No removal, and this is really banking on the fact that opponent doesn't have much going on for them. Alright, no turn 1 play. These decks used to play the 0-4 for 1. Oh, that's a fantastic draw. But I guess our opponent opted out of that. I mean, there are plenty of new cards, and the 0-4 for 1 didn't accomplish much other than getting around Lightning Bolt, which in Theros was Lightning Strike. Interesting. Spell Pierce, maybe? There's the stubs. Alright. Well, if you're not blocking, you're attacking. Get in there, Mr. Deathrite Shaman. Again, without the Akron Hoplite, they're not going to be hasty, so I at least have a full turn to interact with the opponent there. I'm expecting this to be a pretty decent tempo deck, although mono blue from Amonkhet seems like it would also be pretty strong here. Alright, this time I can pay for stubs. Do you have Mana Leak? You have double stubs? Alright. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to make about that. Did they think it was going to be a hard counter? I 100% gonna Thoughtseize. I was gonna run out Deathrite Shaman, but getting another one drop here, I think that means I'm pitching Deathrite Shaman with intent to Tasker next turn. If the opponent discards a land, I might consider going after... Okay, I get a draw card. Oh, look at that. Waste Not is such a fun card. Hero of Eurus. Okay, now I kind of have the advantage here of I can draw a card or create a zombie. Yeah, I guess I can only draw a card. The worst card for me here is likely going to be the Ordeal of Thassa. I just have to expect my opponent to get indestructible a couple of different ways, so if I go after Ordeal of Thassa, they're going to have less cards to work with. And if I find a firm answer for... Ugh. Okay, so this actually is going to look super awkward, but I have to activate here to discard a swamp so I can get blue. Oh. The thought running through my head was Temple's Future Blue, but that doesn't actually work that way. So they get to discard one of 3 cards that all do redundant things. Oh, they drew a creature. Interesting. I don't think this changes anything. Yeah, let's just get our scry on. Field of Ruin. I can put lands in the yard. It's not good enough. I was going to say that I can eat the land with Deathrite and then run out my swamp and Thought Eraser, but honestly the Gryer Reach did what I needed it to. Yep, you get to go pro-black, go unblockable. Honestly, if you use your Johnny's Presence here, you're probably risking getting blown out. I technically have Fatal Push-Up. Ooh, so close. So very close. Alright, so I have 4 mana up. 2 is going towards Thought Erasure. Then... Yeah, alright. This is the plan. Yeah, let's do that. I was wondering if there's any reason to leave this up, but I can't make them discard a land, so there really isn't. An additional creature. I don't really care about the additional creature. We'll take that, and sure, that can go in the yard. That only helps things. We'll draw 2 for an additional Tassiger and a Languish. Alright. Yeah, I guess that actually didn't net anything. I was going to target opponent, but my yard popped out. So, don't need Deathrite, don't need Thoughtseize. The land technically doesn't help, but as long as I have to eat 2 more things, it may as well be the discard spell and I guess the 3rd Waste Not. Then opponent can double pump their creature, so I'm leaving the zombie back to chump block. They have to find an unblockable card in order to get through. So I know that's in hand. Deal of Thos is pretty good. Just looking for that dark deal. This can also let them hit their missing land drops. This Slinguish is awful. Did you find a land, opponent? Apparently not. Dark deal? I mean, that's fine. I do want to actually start the mill plan at some point, so let's do this. We'll eat our land for blue. Hit you. And I think I'm taking the hero this time. Just so I can get a couple of zombie blockers and actually start getting in with Tasigur. Alright, they got Favorite Hoplite, and I can prevent damage. They have a removal spell for Tasigur, but I actually have a redundant Tasigur, so I'm not really concerned about that. Yeah, let's just take their most valuable creature, and I am all on board for a removal spell. Hopefully next turn I mill over one of my opponent's lands so I can actually get double blue. And opponent has realized they're on defense, which is not what you want to be doing with the tempo deck. Land, land. There we go. There's a land. Yeah, let's start by activating this. I'm more curious to see if opponent actually loots us into something fun. Spell Pierce is fantastic. All right. Another waste knot. Alright, I think we're going for the mill kill this game. So I can Hero's Downfall if it's needed. I have Spell Pierce up. I think I'm just on Spell Pierce, so let's go ahead and tapping the Deathrite Shaman in case they have removal outside of Valorous Stance. We're going to go ahead and take a blue, why not, and a black, waste not. We'll try to scry into a dark deal. Yeah, Fatal Push is fine. And not attacking. The hero's keeping Tasker back. And shy of like a Slip Through Space, Aqueous Form, or God's Willing, Spell Pierce. Okay, they did find a land, so something unblockable will get through. But it's not time for that. They do have Treasure Cruise. Good to note. Let's go ahead and activate. Pitch the Evolving Wilds. It's technically a swamp and it can also fill our yard, but I have a feeling we're going to see a couple of lands here. Oh, there's 6 mana. Alright, and then we mill opponent again. Let's go ahead and Hero's Downfall just because it costs a little bit more. Then that's going to force the Johnny's Presence. Ooh, just a God's Willing? That's fine. Now I'll Fatal Push on top of it. Then we'll take one of their lands. Generate a blue and Spell Pierce. Then they have to have another 1-mana protection spell or their big creatures down. Looks like their big creatures down. The fact that they let on God's Willing means that they don't get the Scry. I'm typically not a fan of getting my extra abilities countered and a counter ward that's obviously coming. But opponent's got to do what they've got to do. We can go ahead and activate Tasker. Opponent's likely going to give us back Languish. Search for Iskanta. I'm fine with that. And then Tasker can get in and 1 zombie token. If opponent has removal, they can only buff their creature at least 3 points of damage, so we basically have them dead. But I want to try to get the mill if possible. I guess opponent could have something akin to Unsummon. Brazen Borrower would actually be pretty good. Alright, going for the Treasure Cruise. Oh, and they just scoop it up. Alright, well, we take that one. That was at least a good game, though. I mean, we let that go on for a little bit, and we were able to do a lot of what our deck wants to do. I'm really afraid that this format's going to get kind of akin to Modern, where it's just fast, brutal decks, since most people know how to construct decks in a format like that. But I would absolutely love a Waste Not deck to actually survive the oncoming onslaught of cards. Alright, this is a turn 2 Waste Not into a Thoughtseize. We're on the draw. Well, we have a lot of the cards that I want, so I'm happy to give this a shot. We don't have a way to actually get our Dark Deal. Ooh, thought that was a Thoughtseize. Oh, look at that. We're good at this game. Look at that. We even found our land for it. Opponent's on search for Iskanta. On the plus side, that means that my Waste Not's not getting countered. And then this is our explosive start, assuming opponent doesn't leave up counter magic. We just get to Dark Deal our hand away and hopefully just do the Nutter Butters. Come on, opponent, tap out. Tap out for anything but a Narset. Oh. That wasn't the card I was thinking of. That gets to take my Dark Deal. Oh well, on the crack back I get Thoughtseize. I can take a problem and then either generate a creature or a card, depending on what's more relevant. Darn you, opponent. I'm so happy. Oh, I don't even get to do very much with it, though. That was a horrible Dark Deal. That was so bad. They are Scarab God, Languish. Oh, they're Cat Pact. Nice, they're Cat Pact. They're going to be running Demonic Pact, where you get 3 really beneficial things, and then the last one is lose the game, and then they're going to be using this Harmless Offering that has a picture of a cat on it to try to gift it to me, so I lose the game. So Hero's Downfall down, Thoughtseize down. Honestly, the Fatal Push can only take care of a Scarab God token, so not that relevant. My board is ahead of theirs, so yep, leaving me with 2 terrible, terrible Languishes. And Legend rules as Kanta, probably for discard reasons. Alright, well, opponent knows what I got. Send the zombie in. Then they have 7 cards in their yard, which means I probably need to eat a card. They're still going to be able to flip his Kanta, but I think Collective Brutality is the worst for me on this board state. This means they have to bend their card with his Kanta, and then if they happen to have a Treasure Cruise in hand, it's... if they just get a run as Kanta into a Treasure Cruise and draw 3, I lost a lot off of that, but we'll see. Oddly enough, I think I want a Field of Ruin off the top or a Gyre Reach. Barf. That's a lot of card advantage. Alright, let's cash out. It's going to get opponent's last card, and then... Sometimes I love being lucky. We're going to generate black. We're going to Hero's Downfall Chandra, and then we get to hit our opponent for 2. Opponent does have an active search for his Kanta, so we're pretty far out of the woods, but the Slot Erasure can actually discard a non-creature when it looks like they're a control shell. It also probably wouldn't hurt to have something that can generate green mana just so I can eat creatures, like in response to a Scarab God activation. That's probably something I need to look at moving forward with this format. If you run Deathrite, expect to Scarab God. This was another card pretty high on my I want to play list because it's very powerful and a lot of fun. Alright. Dreadbore on the Deathrite. Turning off his Kanta and trying a new Deathrite. You got it, opponent. Technically a 3-turn clock now. Land. So they get to activate his Kanta on my end step. Hopefully you get some work in. Like, if I can snag a non-creature with that, I go from very far behind to very far ahead. Fell to find. That is kind of a problem with Scarab God decks. You want creatures, but... Okay. Of the cards here, I guess Dreadbore is the worst for me. Opponent's on a 3-turn clock again. Lovely. They do get to activate his Kanta in step. Really, really just hoping that they hit 2 expensive spells. But opponents go down to 4. Demonic Pact. So they found it. Oh, please draw 2 cards. Oh, it doesn't do anything the turn it comes down. Yeah, so they'll end up killing my zombie and gaining 4 life. Show me what you got. Thoughtseize. Draw a couple of cards. Yeah, that can 100% go in the graveyard. Tutelage. All right. Well, the alt win condition is definitely close. There's a tutelage. It's cost 6 to activate. Putting Field of Ruin on the bottom of the deck might have been a mistake with this Conta out. Yep. Okay, opponent found another land. They get to activate his Conta. Bedevil. Alright. Yeah, opponent's going deep. Let's loot. Discard doesn't help me at this exact moment. I don't see much reason to run out the Evolving Wilds. It's going to be a discard target on a future turn. No Harmless Offerings. Actually, Harmless Offering now. That would be fantastic. Because then they have to give it to me and then I get to draw some cards. I got Blink of an Eye. So they're going to blink the Demonic Pact before it's a problem? Okay. Thought Erasure is looking pretty good now. This is like the dirtiest matchup ever. I love it. This looks like a blink. I don't know. They still get to make me discard 2 cards, which is fine. Move to main 2 for no particular reason. Scarab God, maybe. Keranos. Alright. That was another card I was pretty excited to play with. Okay, let's use this to at least look at the top of our deck. If I get a non-creature, then I get to draw a couple of cards. Honestly, going zombies at this point is pretty bad, so hopefully it's not just Scarab God and Torrential Gear Hulk or something akin to it. I guess they could have another set of gods, like... They could have Locust God, just the way that this deck is going. I know they at least have Blink, so they must be considering if it's worth blinking the Pact now and trying not to top deck in the future. But then they lose their Pact. Kronos is technically a win condition, but I'm drawing so many cards that they're going to mill out before the lightning bolts end up killing me. Okay, there's Blink. Tasigur. Yeah, I'm on board for a Tasigur. He's a 1-mana threat. And one that my opponent can't really deal with. Push doesn't really do a whole lot for me, but that might be a future activation of Sphinx's tutelage to pitch, so that at least gives me the free reign to run out the Evolving Wilds. Ooh, another Waste Not. And another discard spell. So Kronos will actually draw my opponent more cards. They also get the Iskanta. Yeah, I mean, they have a couple of things going for them. Let's take out a tutelage, a shaman, Thoughtseize. We are getting slightly low on life for an active Keranos out, Deathrite. I wanted to get more cards out of my library, or out of my graveyard. Future Tasker activations are going to be awkward. I have two options. You got them. Reveals Watery Grave to Keranos, so they get a draw Watery Grave. Then they are currently on lose the game, which means they have to try to Cat Pact me now. And they have 14 cards left in their deck. 2 Harmless Offerings down. Yeah. Little surprised that they wanted to do that. And that they're letting me float my mana. I mean, they're only going to give me something back with Tasigur, so... Oh, they found the Harmless Offering. So I can activate Sphinx's Tutelage once. That is so lucky. That is so very lucky. Yep. I really don't think they can give me anything that matters here. They're just going to give me something like a Fatal Push or a Languish. Yep, there's a Fatal Push. But I'm going to go out with some information. Actually, it's better to leave up all of my blue. I don't think I have an answer in my deck, but the answer is going to be in blue if I have it. Let's take a look at this deck. Counterflux, Bedevil, Harmless Offering, Negate, Blink of an Eye. So they just have a lot of control cards. All right. $12 left in their deck. That is actually super lucky. So they have multiple removals for Planeswalkers, so I actually think I might just try to tax that. Bring in my Collective Brutalities for Duress mode. Ashiok is technically a win condition with Mill and can also snag their Scarab God. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's great, but we're going to be looking at cards like that. Deathrite Shaman is technically a clock, and they're going to have to 1-for-1 it. That just moved into being a plan. Thoughtseize, my life total isn't super relevant. Fatal Pushes are awful. At most, it's going to take a Scarab God token, and seeing as how we didn't have creatures, opponent's going to be trimming those. Languish can come out. Hero's Downfall still ticks on their Planeswalkers, so that's fine. Yeah, like a Dig Through Time there would have ended the game so long ago. They didn't have a ton of card draw. It was basically just the Demonic Pact. I think we're going to run like that. Liliana won't target much. It can technically threaten the game by alting, and can also fill our graveyard and let us rebuy Deathrights and Tassigurs, but I don't think it's high enough upside. Ashiok on turn 3 is just going to end the game, and that's not something Liliana is going to threaten until at least like turn 7 or 8. So this is slightly awkward curve. We need to draw a land, but it's going to take all of the gas our opponent's doing out of their hand and then stick an Ashiok. It's basically what I requested. Unmoored Ego. Okay. So let's take the Thoughtseize and then hopefully draw blue before turn 3. We can win without Waste Not or Tutelage, so yeah, that's the plan. That's probably a card that deserves to be in our yard, or in our sideboard. Oh, look at that. We're so good at this game. Counterflux. Well, they're not casting that anytime soon. The Negate's technically a problem. So that was the blink of an eye. So I can resolve Ashiok for sure. And then yeah, let's just take the Unmoored Ego. We can put that into the yard. My logic there being that they can negate either Ashiok or Sphinx's tutelage and we can still win the game. Although of everything here, I think that I'd prefer that they negate the Sphinx's tutelage. Yep. They ran out the Drowned Catacomb, so they can have Counterflux up for next turn. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. They have to counter this, otherwise I get a Surveil and see their other two cards. Now the way should be cleared for Ashiok or Waste Not. At least mostly. They are a very heavy control shell. Oath of Jace. This is a pretty good way to fill your yard if you are trying to abuse Deathrite Shaman or Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time. So with opponent having Blink of an Eye, I think I'm going to be running out Ashiok first just to get some immediate value. And then hopefully next turn I can double spell. So let's exile some cards out of your deck. I'd be really surprised if I get creatures out of them. There's a Demonic Pact. Alright. No creatures. It's technically more correct to leave up the blue in case for some reason opponent discards of their free accord and I draw a Spell Pierce. Hopefully can squeeze this Dark Deal through after opponent does some shenanigans. So odds are they're going to make me discard next turn, and then so I'll Dark Deal now and then intend to 10 them next turn to get rid of their hand. So they're going to have to find a good way to fetch with that Demonic Tutor. I'm hopefully going to interact with them just enough that it doesn't work. The Blink of an Eye is going to reset Ashiok, though. Oh, no, it's going to reset the Pact. Yeah, the fact that opponent's already at 36 cards, though. This has been one activation? Two activations. Lily Last Hope, I believe, would be at 5 loyalty now, where Ashiok's already threatening to take away their hand. Which they're 6 cards up. Like, it's well worth mentioning. Opponent is currently ahead, but I happen to have 2 cards that interact fairly well with their strategy. Another Demonic Pact. Okay. Awesome. That is actually fantastic. So let's stress you. They don't have mana for any of this. And honestly, I don't think I care about much of it. We can take the Blink of an Eye. Okay, draw a card. So, taking the Blink of an Eye, they have an Unmoored Ego that they can name Dark Deal with. They have a Collective Brutality, and they're probably just going to make me discard anyway. They do get to draw 2, so if they draw a Pact, I'm screwed. Yeah, I think we just have to go for it. This does give them the opportunity to see more cards for Pact, but I think it's the line I just have to take. Because they do have some things that have meaning in their hand. And this is going to give me a little bit of gas to interact with. They might even have to just double discard me here. Or this is fine. Double land. Alright. Well, you don't have any planeswalkers, so you don't get a scry, and I get to eat your hand after you draw some cards. So you have to draw 2 over here. You might make me discard my land. I think that's about as bad as this goes. No creatures hit with Ashiok, though. Yep, as expected. I'm just going to F6. Opponent can see I have nothing going on. This deck got some pretty nice counterspells, though. Well, control cards. Bedevil, Counterflux, Unmoored Ego. All these are great. Dig through time to find the Pact. I did snag 1 here, though. Opponent has lost connection to the game. Alright, well, I'm going to work under the assumption that was a salty scoop. Although we didn't... never mind, that can't be. They won game 1. I don't know, maybe they're trying to protect their integrity of never dying to Demonic Pact. So, things to point out so far. I think we're a little delve heavy. The double blue in Dig Through Time and Tasker's activation both seem slightly hard. We probably do need some number of Drowned Catacombs or Watery Graves. I wanted the Temples, expecting Deathrite to not be a fantastic turn 1 play, and wanting to just really waste not on 2 and hopefully trying to scry into it. Thoughtseize ended up keeping me on some basics, though. That kept me away from Drowned Catacombs, and the fact that Thoughtseize costs life, it just seemed fairly bad. Like, I didn't want to have to lose 4 life. Okay. I guess we'll hit you for 4. Draw an Ashiok that can't do anything, and that's the game. Opponent has some really good filtering going on there. I don't think that matchup is nearly as miserable as it looked, but I mean, kudos to opponent for getting Demonic Pact to work. I definitely wanted to at some point. Sphinx's tutelage was kind of awkward. The biggest problem, though, is just the fact that opponent could draw a lot and then cast something sorcery speed. I think we might need some more counter magic if we want this to be viable. Demonic Pact does give some pretty good card advantage. Like, we had cards in hand, and we probably could have interacted with opponent had they not made us discard before trying to, like, Escanta into it. I can't keep that. I keep greedy hands, but I guess I can keep that. Let's ship back the Dig Through Time. I can't even remotely cast. I drew 1 Urborg and 1 Deathrite, both hands. Okay, well, we better draw a land. That's all I can say. Clifftop Retreat. Okay, maybe that's burn? I don't know. I do actually want to get blue here. I can beat Greedy and Evolving Wilds, eat the Evolving Wilds, cast the Waste Knot, or I could just casually cast the Waste Knot. I think we're going to be greedy. We don't need the tutelage yet, so let's go ahead and sack this, go get an island. Then we'll do this. Waste Knot. This turns off Dark Deal next turn if we top deck it. Which is probably the biggest consideration. Okay, so this is Feather Heroic again. This looks like it's going to be a pretty popular archetype. They're technically an aggro deck, but this is actually a discard card. Next turn I'm going to waste not into a discard spell and then hopefully start comboing, so that's fine. We're going to take beats for a turn. Deathrite's not blocking. Hopefully opponent doesn't like 14 us out of nowhere. Temur Battle Rage is a card in this format. Okay, that is a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. All right. All right. Little did I know that Deathrite Shaman should have been blocking. Just to God's willing. Oh, well, let's draw a lot of cards. Ooh, that's a land. No, I can't Languish yet. Languish actually doesn't do much for me. So, opponent only has a land at the moment. I hope we just fade a top deck for a turn. Yeah, not actually a huge fan of any of this. I'm assuming opponent drew another land, either that or God's willing. Died in strength. All right. Super close to dead. Just grab a card to the top. That's the Evolving Wilds. I really don't even want to show them the Languish. Yep, we're dead. We are super dead. Waste not Tron. Not great versus aggro. Spell Pierce comes in. It prevents a lot of damage. Last Hope, again, just chips some of their stuff away. Not a huge fan of Collective Brutality. Doesn't kill their creatures right off the bat. Languish needs to come down faster, I think is just the bottom line there. We can... This has just felt so awkward. Let's trim on some Deathrites and see how that feels. Opponent is on the Akron Hoplite plan, though. This is actually one of the matchups where the 1-2 body is probably relevant. That actually might just be a Davriel and Dig Through Time. I just wanted to combo once. Is that really so much to ask for? I guess Treasure Cruise probably would have been a little bit better for that, but I wanted to hit the combo pieces. Waste not with Dark Deal. Your opponent discards a couple of non-creatures. You just draw a ton of cards. All right. This is really close. We're on the play, which means a turn 2 waste not. Any land means that we can Gaia Reach or just Dark Deal. We have the Dark Deal. Let's do it. I don't have great hopes for finishing this splendidly, so hopefully we find an untapped land in 3 draws. Favorite Hoplite. I mean, I guess that technically counts. Because we get to do it. We get to do all the things. Opponent's not going to have the slip through space stuff that our previous opponent had. No Aqueous Forms, none of that. That was in the blue version of the deck. So awkward. So awkward and terrible. Oh, I didn't see the creature. That was my bad. I could have prevented a lot of those. Sweet. So Zombie's likely going to eat it here. The Dreadhorde is actually super good at the moment, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to kill that. Liliana can actually keep that at bay for a while. So might be looking at... opponent can Defiant Strike and put 1/1 counters on it. Next turn looks like it's probably just going to be a Tasker and a Fatal Push. And I'm expecting opponent to have a Shock. Okay, they know I'm just going to block their creature, right? And then untap and kill it. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright, that hurts. That hurts a lot, but Tasser's going to be able to do things. Some things. Let's get rid of lands. If Deathrite Shaman comes out, he's a chump blocker at this point. Don't really need the Spell Pierce or the Tutelage. Then we'll Fatal Push the big dude. And put it on opponent to figure out how to kill us from 6. It's not impossible, but they need to have pro-white. That's definitely a start. Next turn's likely just going to be Liliana. It depends on what opponent does here. Another Dreadhorde or Arcanist. So Titan Strength can kind of be a problem. Double Titan Strength can be a real problem. So Chump Block Tasker here. I had faith in you, buddy. A little surprised I didn't go for card draw there. Ooh, another Swamp's interesting. So, opponent didn't leave any cards in hand. I can Lily... Can I Lily and Tassiger? That'd leave me open, though. So Lily, land, I'd have 5 cards in the yard. So I can Lily and Tassiger. With no cards in my opponent's hand, I need to have 2 blockers, though. So Lily, Shrink, and Chump Block Deathrite. I think that puts me on taking 2 damage. So let's Shrink you, Deathrite. Oh, that's bad. Yep, they get an Alpha, they get a Titan Strength, the little dude here, and then I'm just dead. Well, red version significantly more punishing than blue version. Wait, they targeted that? That doesn't make sense. Okay, there's a Fatal Push for the big one. I get a Shrink 1 and then die. I can pick up a creature, but it doesn't really do anything. Alright, I'll make opponents see the line since they didn't see it last game, or last turn. These dudes are buff. They also likely drew a pump spell, so it's not like it even matters. Yep. Target yourself, and I did. Still not the line you should be taking, though. You should buff the other one. Alright, currently up 1 match. Not super happy Magic Christmas Land, but we are playing Waste Not Mill, so happy to see what happens from here. Multiple notes have come up, though, like clearly not an ideal build, but it is day 1 for Pioneer, so hopefully we'll see a little more progress here. Opponent was playing Cat Pact. That is definitely one higher on the list, but this deck was just so much fun. Both me and my friend had it, and we would occasionally get paired to F&M, and it was like stacking the Waste Not triggers on both sides of the board, trying to figure out how many will effects we can go through, and just so much fun. But the other sets have definitely added some complexity. Deathrite Shaman has been very, very underwhelming. I don't think Fabled Passage even resolves that, but something to be aware of. We haven't even cast a Dig Through Time yet. Okay, this hand is slow and has nothing that we're trying to accomplish, so we can mull it. This is a waste not into a dark deal, assuming we find one more landing. We have a scry land, so we can hang on to this. The collective brutality is probably worst, but we're going to play against an aggro deck. That's just the way the world works. And we'll keep a additional blue source. I think I'd prefer an additional black source, but I'm not going to be picky. Island. Mill? Oh, it's a gift of the God-Pharaoh. So they're going to take a creature in their yard and try to make it a 4/4. Yeah, they use Gate of the Afterlife to go get the God-Pharaoh's gift, and then they make big, nasty creatures in their yard, 4/4s with haste. Combat Celebrant for extra steps. Dream Eater can Surveil 4 with a bounce. Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. Ooh, I really don't want to discard a Waste Not here, but not having a Thoughtseize, I don't think that I can just let this sit. I think I got to go for it. Opponent, discard 5. 5 Waste Not triggers. Okay, so we can do land first, and then they discarded a couple of creatures. Another Combat Celebrant, another, and a Champion of Wits. Yeah, that doesn't look great for me. Sure, we'll also cast a Tassiger since you gave us everything we needed for it. Next turn's looking like another dark deal. With only 2 mana, opponent can't go off too hard. Gate to the Afterlife costs 3 and then costs 2 to activate it. Trophy Mage. Sweet, so they're going to go tutor it up so I can make them discard it. I like that. And a Davriel. Unfortunately, I think we're discarding our hand again. I don't want them casting that Gate to the Afterlife. So we get 6 mana. Okay, let's hopefully draw something a little better than a Deathrite Shaman. Combat Celebrant. Alright, I'm taking Search for His Content just so I can draw some cards. Guess we'll play a land for turn. Ugh, that's so bad. Alright, well they have 2 cards in hand, 3 gates to the Afterlife in the yard. God-Pharaoh's Gift, I believe, costs 7. Yep, costs 7. So you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. So Deathrite doesn't even really take care of that. Let's activate Tassiger. I'm assuming I'm going to get back Davriel. You're giving me Thoughtseize? You must have a land in hand. Cost 2 life to confirm suspicions. Yep. Alright, well, with only a Combat Celebrant, I'm feeling in a pretty happy place, so let's just get some beats on. That's an odd block. Okay. So opponent is seeing that they're a little behind. That was a... Instead of bouncing off a zombie, they ended up eating the Tassiger. Not too sure about that, but alright. Ooh, and look at that, a Tutelage. So I can Field of Ruin and then Tutelage. Seems like my best line. If I do that, I can't activate Deathrite. Let's attack first. Let's see what opponent wants to do. I can see them trading with a zombie. Yep, so if they're at 8, this is going to put them at 6 and they're dead next turn, so let's just do this. Showing them the tutelage is slightly weak just because they don't actually know that we're a mill deck and they're self-milling, so that will change their agenda here, but Deathrite Shaman putting them to 6 and then making it lethal if they top deck nothing is well within the realm of getting something done. I guess Field of Ruin also could have been an option there, but now I get a mill for a little bit more and see what their exact game plan is. Okay, so they have multiple Champion of Wits, multiple Dream Eaters. Oh, I didn't mill. Sad Panda. Or I didn't drain. Alright, well, they are going to have Enchantment Hate, so may as well run out Search, and then this time we're actually going to drain them. Assuming they don't scoop because they don't get a blocker. I have not played with Deathrite Shaman enough. I haven't seen any Afterlife cards out of them. Yeah, so they actually did have a plan for Tasker. I'd be a little interested in seeing what that was. They are a creature deck, which means Ashiok comes in. Spell Pierce can get either the God-Pharaoh's Gift or the Gate to the Afterlife. Leyline of the Void, just obvious in. Languish, I'm not stoked about this, but it can at least kill creature tokens as well as most of the little dudes. Things like Champion of Wits can come back with as a 4/4, so that might be fine. I think I'm more concerned about keeping their graveyard in check, though. Narset doesn't actually do much. I accidentally clicked in Lily. Lily can hit a lot of their smaller creatures and can kill Combat Celebrant. That actually might be a big enough reason to keep it in. They are going to try to be a combo deck, though. Let's see what we're trimming. So Deathrite not having green in the deck does feel like a horrible cost to it. I should have one to tutor with Evolving Wilds or Field of Ruin or something, just so I can eat creatures with the Deathrite Shaman, and I don't need a land and 2 Deathrite Shamans. Dark Deal kind of enables them, but it also interrupts their hand, just randomizes it. Search for his count is fine. How do I feel about Collective Brutality? I can't snag any creatures. Most of their things are small. Brutality can come out. Tutelage is probably bad when they're a mill deck. I think I'm going to try to treat this a little bit more like a control matchup. Fiddle Push can hit tokens, and like the first half of Champion of Wits, Thoughtseize can take their combo pieces. Davriel's probably slow. And I need to still trim 3 things. I think Ashiok's good enough that I can keep her. Tasker blocks the 4/4 is probably better than Languish. The fact Deathrite can't eat creatures is probably the trim. Let's keep 1. He's been fine. He just hasn't had enough food. Scry into a Waste Knot into Thought Erasure. Is this fine? I actually probably have to do this first. So if I Thoughtseize on 1, I can take the Gate to the Afterlife. So many tapped and uncolored lands. Alright, I'm going to be greedy on the draw, and I'm going to lead on Thoughtseize. Oh, I should have gone for Leyline. That actually would have been the smarter play. It feels weird playing with standard cards and knowing I can go for Leyline. I know that people who have been playing standard don't think it's that weird, but yeah, that's fine. Looking for a Gate to the Afterlife here. Search for his Kanta, negate, Gate to the Afterlife. So I take Gate to the Afterlife, they hold up negate, or I take negate, they run out, search for his Kanta, then I thought erasure the Gate. Whatever, we'll just take the Gate. That's the card I actually care about. If they search here, I can run out Waste Not. If they hold up Negate, I can Thought Eraser. Yep. As expected. I was going to say, or better yet, I can run out of tap land, but I guess that's a solid turn 3 play. Now I got third land. Yep, there's the Negate. As expected. Now, opponent doesn't have a whole lot of gas going on. And it looks like they missed a land drop. Ouch. Alright. Game on. Don't need the fifth land here. Don't really have anything that cares about it. Tasker's going to be the closest thing, or potentially Dig Through Time. But I have plenty of discard fuel, and I'll be cantripping, and eventually we'll find enough lands. Found the gate to the afterlife. So, I hit this, they get a combat celebrant. Search your hand, put it into the battlefield. Alright. I suppose that works. Deathrite Shaman. So at this point, I could actually start trying to eat their yard and make it so that they can't... I can't eat their creatures, though. Yeah, let's just spin that. Now, I am expecting them to have another God-Pharaoh's Gift somewhere on their list, so I don't really want to put a creature into their yard for them. I'll hold up Spell Pierce here with intent to Ashiok next turn and hold up Spell Pierce. They bin a mountain. Combat Celebrant comes down. They do have an Unknown in hand. I can Thought Erasure and Search. If it's a creature, I get a blocker for the Combat Celebrant. Whatever, they can't kill Ashiok yet, unless they hit something specifically with Search. Let's exile some cards from you. Oh, they showed underneath it. Cool, I got a Trophy Mage. Don't think there's anything there I want to use, so... They're also going to have to use like all of their mana to pop this. Can that hit their graveyard? Yep, that can hit their graveyard. It's funny, but Leyline of the Void would be a fantastic top deck at this point. Found a Combat Celebrant. Alright, well I'm going to turn their tokens on. Yep, and there's a Dream Eater. Languish, 100% going into the yard. Then may as well run out Search for Azcanta. I'm not actually expecting them to... Ugh, this is just so ugly. Because then they get a pop Gate of the Afterlife, go get God-Pharaoh's Gift, or not. Okay, well that picks up my Ashiok. But they might just be using it to surveil at this point. Yep. Wow, a little unlucky from opponent there. Totally making that trade. Then I get to flip my Search for Azcanta. I get to go look for... I don't even know at this point. Yeah. What made them discard? Oh, Gate to the Afterlife lets them loot. Do I want to flip his counter or do I want to cast Dig Through Time? I think I want to cast Dig Through Time. Oh, I didn't crack that. That was the whole reason I wasn't passing priority. Alright, so I could take Trophy Mage here. I can't really tutor anything. Let's just exile a couple of cards from opponent. We got a Champion of Witch. That's actually pretty great. Then... Alright. It's opponent's go. Six mana for Niv. Whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, you draw a card. Alright, well, I guess we're going to dig through time. I really don't want to take more cards out of my yard, but I don't want them to be able to draw with Niv. So we can get rid of the Thoughtseize. They have no cards in hand. Thought Erasure. Wow, that's pretty nasty. I guess that's going to be Field of Ruin for sure for the Iskanta, and probably a second Waste Knot. Tasker's also fine. Sure. Without fetch lands, I probably need to get a little bit better at remembering how many cards I put under Dig Through Time. I used to be able to tell what order cards were coming up in back in Khan's block. That's pretty awesome. That's a good card. Yeah, let's just go ahead and kill you. Correct sequencing. Yeah, this is correct sequencing. I don't want to give them mana. Yep. Targeting Ashiok so that if they go to combat, they can actually hit Ashiok for 4. Although I'm going to be plussing it, so I don't know how viable that is. Ashiok has been very distracting for them, though. Cool, and I get mana. That's great. I'll just run out another Waste Knot. That seems fun. Champion of Wits is cute, but I think we're just going for the mill here. Didn't get anything new of value. And I don't want them to untap with his Kanta, so I'm going to Field of Ruin now, leave up Spell Pierce. And opponent, I believe the exact wording on, yeah. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Combat Celebrant says untap, there's an additional combat phase. So Combat Celebrant will get them an additional creature if they exert it. Another Niv. Dark Deal. So I've been that. I can flip his Kanta, go search for something, or I can keep that, make them discard their last card with 2 Waste Knots out. Now we're going to play this a little bit slower. Let's hit you again. Wow, that got a Secret Keeper and a Champion of Wits. No, and an Agent of Treachery. Alright, I like that. I really like that. So opponent's going to discard 2 cards because of the Niv trigger. They do get a hit Ashiok for 2, although that doesn't really matter a whole lot. Oh, we get to draw 2 and get 2 zombies? Seems pretty good. And a Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is going to make them draw cards that's going to cost me 2 life. But I think it's worth it. I might even be able to just grab a creature and get some more zombies on the ground to speed this up, or I can just draw 2 off of it. Waste Knot math is weird. Okay, so that looks like they finally are going to be able to kill Ashiok. But we have a somewhat respectable zombie army. I think it's a little late for Leyline. So they kill Ashiok. They have essentially 6 decent creatures in their yard. I don't think they actually have a second God-Pharaoh's gift. Whatever, let's just keep it. I can cast it. Yep, makes sense. They've been targeting Ashiok this entire time. Nope. We're keeping that, and yes, we're transforming. Leyline. Opponent did have a couple of negates. Was mildly concerned about that resolving. If I is Kanta, I'm not going to be able to find anything I can cast. I'm going to wait until end step to do it. And hit opponent for 8. They're on a 3-turn clock. Assuming they start blocking with Niv. Put 2 cards to the bottom. Yeah, the verbiage on this says graveyard, hand, or library. God-Pharaoh's gift is right here. They must be intending to combo kill me? Or they just want to go find another one? Okay, so I think I'm dead because Combat Celebrant's going to hit me for 4, Niv's going to hit me for 5. They exert this, and then they do it again. Yep. And they get the additional trigger, which means they're getting a Dream Eater, and that is death. Should have mulliganed for some yard hate. Like, that opening hand was fine, but we just gave opponent far too long. If they would have activated their Gift of the God-Pharaoh way earlier, they would have had it. There's a Leyline with not much interaction. I think we could do better. We can definitely do better. Probably not going to get much better. So I'm going to be casting the Tasker. The Hero's Downfall slightly on the slow end, and I'm likely going to be Dark Dealing to get out of this mulligan, so that's the plan. Might even just have to Dark Deal away the Tasker on 2, but we'll see. If I can start with Tasker and then discard their hand, we're in an okay spot, but shouldn't have mulled that 7. Should have taken the Land Light 7. That is what we hope for. So I'm going to get an island for color fixing, and then we're going to eat this guy. We'll cast Waste Not. And then if we top deck a land, we Dark Deal. We lose our hand, but then we should hopefully draw a couple of cards from opponent discarding. Okay, well that's technically a draw. It looks like opponent was trying to set up for a negate, but we really don't have the luxury of playing around things now, so we're going for it. You gonna negate me, bro? Petty theft on the Waste Not. Cute, really cute. Did get their gate to the afterlife, though. Hopefully top decking a land or a Spell Pierce here. All right. Opponent has 1 card in hand and a Brazen Borrower to speak of. I don't want to make this trade. They can just eternalize it, and Deathrite Shaman's my clock at the moment. Getting an island so I can activate Tasker or cast Dig Through Time. That's not really what you want to see. That's fine. So, gonna eat a negate out of opponent's yard. There's the Brazen Borrower. Really quick clock from opponent. That Petty Theft was pretty backbreaking despite being cute. Let's go ahead and eat the negate. We'll draw a Waste Knot, see if opponent's holding a counter. Nope. So opponent will discard 2, but they'll also net 2 cards. So this is now the point that I have to trade with the Champion of Wits. It reduces my clock fairly significantly, and also potentially gives me the opportunity to draw out of this. Combat Celebrant. Okay, so I'm dead next turn. That doesn't do anything for me. Opponent gets it. They're going to swing for 7, untap, and hit me for 10. And that's game. Alright, well, a couple of things learned. Actually, yeah, let's do it in this screen again. Whenever we have something that I potentially might want to revisit or just went horribly awry, I do like actually covering what we need to be doing. So, Watery Grave, if we're running the Death Rights, which I'm not sure that we should be, we definitely need untapped mana on one. The Thoughtseize is definitely required on one, and Fatal Push is kind of meh. Without Revolt, I'm not sure how I feel about Fatal Push. I don't actually own the Fabled Passages, and Card Hoarder was out, but obviously the Fabled Passage is a better card than Evolving Wilds. The lands were so weird. We technically only need 3, sometimes 4 mana, because these are delves, so they should be reading in these columns respectively, assuming that we didn't horribly misbuild our deck. 22 lands is kind of overkill for this kind of a setup. Gyre Reach being legendary was slightly awkward. I actually didn't like the Field of Ruin. I would probably look at... Oh, I'm blanking on the name. Drowned Catacomb. And I should have some of these. I'd probably look at it like this. If I'm looking for a land that comes in untapped on 2, it's going to be a Drowned Catacomb. We had a lot of really bad color issues. The Dig Through Times also need to be Treasure Cruises. Why do I have mismatching Treasure Cruises? And we also need to see them more frequently. So I'd probably see this setup. Davriel is not a solid win condition. We can win, we just need to actually see our cards. Hero's Downfall might need to be the new Knight. I'm going to have to look up his name. The Adventure Knight, though. That is essentially the same text. May as well pull it up over here. This dude, Murderous Rider, because he has destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life at instant, and then also has a body and can also be put on the bottom of your deck. That part actually might not be relevant, but the lifelink might be. So I would say we have to switch this over for Murderous Rider. But again, didn't have any and wasn't really sure if I wanted it or not. But he does seem like he's a little bit of a better fit. As well as being a creature, there were a number of times that I just wanted an additional creature in the list somewhere. The Collective Brutality didn't answer the heroic creatures, and given the fact that we played that deck twice is part of the reason why I feel like that went a little bit poorly. So I think the meta has to shape around this, but with Burn having access to Searing Blaze, Wild Slash, Eidolon, the Great Revel, Lightning Strike, Hazaret, Rabble Master, Goblin War Boss. This just felt so relevant, but we ended up seeing the heroic deck, and I'm guessing it's because it was budget. I'm assuming when the format gets fleshed out, we're going to see a little bit more of the actual mono red burn. Excuse me, I had to cough. Uh, Also, instead of some of our cards, Drown in the Lock is actually super strong. It's a removal spell as well as being a counter spell. I actually might be looking at this setup. Maybe even this setup. The Thought Eraser was pretty good, but there were a number of times when I drew it when I couldn't make the opponent discard. I understand that this doesn't have much synergy with the Waste Not, but it is just a very powerful card. So I might even just make the assumption I don't want the Deathrite Shamans and then keep these. Yeah, that seems fine. And then if we're looking at the curve of the deck, this is actually a very solid curve for any kind of a deck, especially a new format where you want to be like fast and reactive. We are interacting with our opponent, though. That's always going to take a back seat to linear decks. They're viable. It's going to take a back seat, and when you're trying to do something cute like this, it doesn't really work. I'm guessing that this is a fairly decent start for what we want to be doing. Definitely huge overhauls to the mana. It was just problems there. Our activation cost got a little bit better, and we actually have spots for things. I did originally have 4 Gurmag Anglers in the old list, but that's going to mean that we're cutting down on delve threats. It's at least bare minimum going to mean we go down to Tassiger and potentially a number of treasure cruises. So possibly a setup like this, and then we just have a couple of 5/5s for a backup plan, and we're not relying on MILF slash zombie beats for a backup plan. Like, this feels like it's got a stronger finish to it, as well as a better curve and a more reliable mana base. I think that this is actually very necessary, just because forcing your opponent to discard with a land that's hard to interact with is pretty good. Escanta was a problem, but if that's going to be the case, then something akin to Blink of the Eye might be a little bit better in the sideboard. Can't really be sure, though. We're going to see how the format shapes up, just because this can cantrip, get us an additional card if we go late game, and it can stop a lot of problem permanents. We have a lot of non-basics, and we do have some fairly strict color considerations. I don't know, maybe it is just Field of Ruin that we need to have like 2 copies of just for special considerations, and maybe go down like a Temple and Drown Catacombs or something. Again, the mana just felt so bad. With this curve, we should be able to function with like 18, 19 lands, but it just was not there. The Deathrite Shaman really skewed the math, but Spell Pierce does feel like it's going to come away as one of the better counter spells, along with Disallow. If you have discard, your tap out control, I'm not stoked about counterspell magic, but Drown in the Lock might actually be okay for that reason. It also remove a lot of problems. Blue-black doesn't really interact with enchantments well. Could have just leylined a little bit better, or mulliganed a little bit better versus the Gift of the God-Pharaoh deck. I don't know. We're going to be playing a lot of his Pioneer, and hopefully it's going to come across as a fun format with a little bit of a slower curve, and hopefully we get to do a couple of more fun things that Modern pushed us out of, but excited to play with it. Anyways, guys, I'm 13. I play a bunch of fun decks. Still need to update my schedule over there on the left. Monday is no longer a part of it, but probably going to be playing Pioneer for the near future, just because it's going to be fun, new, exciting, and we're going to be able to do some stupid stuff with it. If you have a fun idea, I'd love to see it. Send it to dex@squirreldealer.com or post on the YouTube page. We have a ton of content up. Pioneer's going to be coming. Most of it's modern, but feel free to head on over to YouTube, check out our page, like, follow, all that fun stuff. And we have like 8 months worth of content, most of it fun. Brad One also streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so feel free to check him out. I don't know how much Pioneer he's going to be doing, but time will tell. And thanks for hanging around. Have a good one, everybody.